Why, hello, how are you doing? Do I look sweaty? I've been running around the house gathering all the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. Let's get started though. Okay, first off, welcome to my channel. My name is Sally. I am a cross stitcher here in Michigan. I'm going to show you with this. This is the lower peninsula of Michigan. I live right around there in a town called Midland. And I love to cross stitch. I have really been busy with stitching, and I'm so excited to share all the projects that I've been working on in this video. I've also been doing some quilting, and I've worked on a little bit of knitting, and so that's where the "and" in the name of my channel comes in. Sally stitches and. So mostly I stitch cross stitch, but the "and" can kind of cover all of the other things that I'm interested in crafting. So if you're new here, welcome. I am glad you joined me. We're gonna do a lot of talking about all the things that I've worked on. So in today's video, I am tentatively calling it Sally Stitches and Stitches Some More, because I have had yet another prolific couple weeks. Since I last talked to you, I've continued several stitch-alongs I've been working on. I've been doing some additional organizing of both my cross-stitch station and then my quilting and my quilting stuff, because I've gotten very interested in quilting lately. Last video, you noticed that I finished a big project, which was a rainbowy quilt that, was the cover page of my video. That really sparked like, what do I want to make next moment for me. So I've been working on quilting. I pulled out another quilt top that I was ready to start piecing, and I've made some good progress on that. I'm almost half pieced on that, and so I'll show you that a little bit later, as well as the changes I've made to my organization system. But first, let's talk about cross stitch. But wait, even before we do that, let's talk about knitting, because I didn't do a lot of knitting, and so I just want to take like just a few moments, a minute, if you will. I thought of that ahead of time, and I thought you'd think that was funny. So I have been continuing to work on the two projects that I've showed you previously. The most work I've done has been on my Cliff Walk sock, and it's all tangly. Let me unfurl it here. Here we go. So this is the second sock of my Cliff Walk sock project. The designer of this is Helen Stewart, who also goes by Curious Handmade on Ravelry. And I've gotten to the point where I have just turned the heel. So leg of the sock, heel, and then the toe is going to come out this way. And now I'm doing what's called gusset decreases. So this is a very wide part because this is the top of the foot, and it's going to taper out. I'm going to reduce the number of stitches until I get to the width of the foot I want, and then continue to the toe. This is the second sock that I've done, and so that's very convenient for me because I don't have to really measure as I go along. What I can do is I can just count these lace motifs and then make sure that there are the same number on this sock too. And so they should be matching socks when I'm all done with this. I've had a lot of fun with this project. I've been working on this kind of in those in-between moments. Now that summer is like, 75% over, the kids go back to school August 20th. I finally feel like I have hit a good summer routine. We've been really busy. My daughter just finished a driver's training session. She is 15 this year, and so she just took like what Michigan calls level 1 instruction. So she had to go to a driver's training class a couple times, basically every weekday night for like the last 12 days. And then she did a couple driving sessions with the instructor, and she's just got a couple more driving instruction moments, and then she'll get her learner's permit, and then we can start taking her out on the road, and then eventually she's going to be driving all by herself, which is like, I can't believe it. This is so exciting for me. She's probably the only one of my two kids who will get a driver's license, and so it's especially exciting. My son Nathan is a little younger than Katie. He is going to be 13 later this year. He, however, is autistic and has some profound disabilities that are probably going to make it so that he cannot drive. He's also epileptic, and so there's just a lot going on there. In fact, because he's been home this summer, that's really changed a lot of how I cross stitch and how I do my crafts. What I've found has worked this summer has been like a zoning system. So I've got basically like 3 areas in the house that I can choose to do some crafting. I've got this corner right here, which is my cozy cross-stitching corner. It's right next to my window. I've got a nice light there. I've got some artificial light for nighttime, and I don't care if my neighbors see me cross-stitch because I am like living my best life at that moment, right? And then I have a similar cross-stitch setup in my family room on the couch, but I don't usually get to use that while Nathan is awake because he's kind of like a TV monopolizer. He likes to watch his shows, and he likes to just like sprawl on the couch. And, you know, I don't really like to stitch and have a kid jumping right next to me. So, and then the last thing I have is in the family room, a crafting table, which is a multi-purpose table that I can use for quilting, for stitching. It's right next to our backyard. So if my son is playing outside, I can supervise him appropriately, but I don't have to sit outside in the heat. And so, yeah, that's my setup. And it's just been really nice to kind of get into like different zones for crafting. So anyway, that is probably one of the biggest drivers behind why I have so many projects going on right now. I showed you the sock. I'll show you very briefly. I've got my Heirloom quilt cardigan squares that I'm making. Here's the sweater right here. I am currently making an orange one with a white background. I just have a baby start on this. I've been kind of like paralyzed by color indecision on this because I only have 7 more blocks left before I start assembling them into the actual cardigan body, and I want to make sure that I like the color combinations. It was easy for the first 20, and this last 7 I'm just really struggling. I've been in so many different stitch alongs, and so I guess as we start talking about cross stitch, let's start talking about my stitch alongs first. Also, I had so much to talk about that I made a list, and so I might cut in and out just so that I am keeping track, because I really do want to talk about everything, because it's been a lot of fun, a lot of busyness. So, okay, first stitch along is 324 by Works ABC. Now this is a project that I keep generally on the table by the outside because this is just a little daily project. I am this far on it. I am only doing 1 motif a day. There are 324 of them. There are 324 colors. And so I can just pull the colors out of my DMC master kit. I just have boxes that are arranged by color. So I've got the red box kind of sitting right out on the front of my table. I really, really like this project because it's so bite-sized. This also was a project that I thought would be really fun to try Markup R-XP with. Now, if you are not familiar with Markup R-XP, I knew about it from a bunch of different Flosstubers, but I really decided to download it and try it out after watching last week's Flosstube video, or CraftTube, or whatever she wants to call it, video by Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. She did a little overview of how to upload a new markup project, and I was like, you know what? That is what I needed to push myself in. So I've got 5 projects on my markup project, and some of these are projects that I was able to, upload because I had a PDF chart, and then some of these I had to scan in a chart to go ahead and get it going, and 324 was one of those. So this is kind of fun for me to share. I am 6.69% done with this chart. This chart has 16,000 stitches. I've done about 1,000 stitches. So, hey, that's fun. I'm on track with that because I'm only doing a little bit a day. And, I think that's fun. The other projects I have in here are, I have 2 of my Whip Miss in July Christmas whips in here because I was playing around with just adding projects to the system. You'll notice that there's 2 that have the same cover page, and that I'll tell you more about that project in a bit, but I ended up splitting that chart into 2 files because there's 2 different colorways that I'm doing. Another chart I have in here is my hands-on design berry basket stitch along, and let me see if I can show you that next. I'm going to put projects away neatly so that when this pile inevitably fails, I won't have a huge mess on the floor. So the next stitch along that I've been doing is the berry basket stitch along. And now these are hosted by my friend Memphis Sarah E here on Flosstube. And then my other friend Jen Naska, who does not have a Flosstube channel right now, but she can be found on Instagram at her handle here. And she is a delight. She was one of my first like long distance cross stitch friends. And she talked about maybe starting a Flosstube again. And I'm like, do it, Jen. Be my friend on YouTube again. So I want to show you the designs. There are 3 designs in this stitch along, all by Hands On Design, and they are little strawberries, but each one is a different theme. So there's a strawberry, a blackberry strawberry, and a blueberry strawberry. And I want to stitch all 3 because they all have actually a lot of common colors in them. There's only maybe about, I'd say, a dozen colors overall, you know, fewer than a dozen colors overall for the entire project. And so I kitted it up with DMC, and then I ended up using a 36 count fabric by Fiber on a Whim called Cream and Sugar. And I've completed 1 berry, and I have a little start on the next berry. So here's the strawberry that I just completed. And then I am working on the blackberry next, and I didn't even pull it out of the hoop, but I just have a very, very small start here. Now these berries are going to come out smaller than the pattern intended because the pattern is a 32 count, you know, it's called for a 32 count fabric. And I decided to go smaller because I just think small things are so cute, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. Now, I got to show you the stuff I bought. So I guess I've got a little bit of a haul to show you because I had to buy some felt to finish these off, you know, to make the little caps. And so I placed an order for felt from my favorite felt stockist, which is Benzie Design in Plainfield, Illinois. But you can't just order one piece of felt online, right? Especially if they have a lot of cute stuff. So this is the felt. Look, they tie it in the cute little bow. So should be enough felt to do all of the leaves for all 3 berries, plus a little extra because I have a berry bowl started. Let me show you what I've got inside. So I had an extra strawberry, which is a felt pom-pom that I had left over from when I finished my Strawberry Moon Stitch Along project in June. And so I ended up buying 2 more. So I've got 3 strawberries. I've got 2 red ones, and then I've got this like almond pink one. And then I bought these. They don't have felt blackberries, but I found these. These are like felt plums, and I just think they're so cute. Look at how cute they are. So I've got some blackberries that just don't look like, you know, real blackberries, but they're cute. And so let me just put a couple in this bowl. And then I ended up buying some pom-poms. And these come in a 50 pack, so I'm not going to use all of these, but I've got some big, medium-sized dark blue ones, and I've got some lighter colored smaller ones. And so this felt sheet is a lot bigger than I need. I'm thinking that what I might do is I might cut out some very tiny leaves and then glue them to some of these little pom-poms to make blueberries. So once I have my blueberries and my blackberries and my strawberries in this bowl, which is a Pyrex vintage piece, and it's called Gooseberry. Isn't that funny? I can have a little berry bowl. So imagine I'll have a couple of these little felt berries in here, and then I can put my berry basket berries right on top for display. I think that's gonna be super cute. And I didn't, you know, it didn't take much pushing to enable me to buy some cute berry felt stuff from Benzie. So I suggest splurging every now and then. So another stitch along that I've caught up on is by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and this is their year-long stitch along for this year, and it's called Arctic Animals. They just added the new clue for July, and it is a caribou, or commonly known as a reindeer, I guess. I didn't know caribou and reindeer were the same animal, but they sent us an email a little later in the month. They're going to rechart it so that people that want to stitch reindeer instead of caribou on the label have the choice to do that. This is coming along really cutely. This color is a lot more saturated in real life. This is Picture This Plus Nocturne, which I think really has like a steely blue vibe to it that I like. I think it complements the piece very well. It makes the white pop on this piece because there is a lot of white and pale colors just because of, you know, the Arctic. But there's a lot more color than I thought there would be, considering that the stitch along was about Arctic animals. I am really glad I'm caught up. This clue did not take very long to stitch, and so I'm gonna just keep trying to be caught up. So now I need to tell you about my two big stitch alongs that I did this month, and they were kind of self-imposed stitch alongs. Well, one was something that was like someone else made up, and then the other thing was something I made up. The thing that was made up by other people was a Halloween themed stitch along hosted by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery to celebrate Summerween, you know, like a summer celebration of Halloween. Now, every week this July, they had different sets of patterns on sale. They have a lot of Halloween patterns. In fact, they also had a bundle. You could get all of the patterns on sale for like an amazing deal, like less than $100 for 30 patterns. And so go to their website. I think they still have it. This is not sponsored. I am just a super fan of them. So I decided that that would be a perfect opportunity to take my big Halloween project and try to finish it. And so what I did was I divided the month into 10 3-day segments, and I alternated between Summerween stitching and Christmas in July stitching. But I called my Christmas and July stitching Whipmas in July because I did not start any new Christmas projects. I had like 5 or 6 projects that I hadn't, you know, finished. And so I've only been working on pre-existing holiday projects. So this has been a very like whip-filled summer for me. And I am really glad because even though I've only finished one Christmas project, I've made some good progress on some of my other Christmas projects, and I've kind of gotten over the hump with them. So let me show you the Christmas projects first. So the first one, and the one that I've worked on most recently, is this. This is a set of 12 Days of Christmas ornaments designed by Tiny Modernist. And I am stitching them all together. And so I have a row of 3. So I've got partridge in a pear tree, a turtle dove, and then this is going to be a French hen over here. And then I'm going to just go down and do like 3 across and 4 down to make a grid of all of these ornaments. Now the pattern didn't have these ornaments arranged in that grid. And so I ended up having to take the PDF and then cut all the pieces out. And I don't want to show you the pattern, but I'll just show you the back of it because it is like a disaster. So I have like 12 little charts taped together with notes about how far to space in between for each piece because they are not all the same size. They are very close, but because they're meant to be just round ornaments, they're not like perfectly, you know, easy to center. So once I got that sorted out, I found this a lot easier to work on. I have been stitching this on 36 count fabric. It's in the color Winter Sparrow by Forbidden Fiber Company. And it is kind of a dusky pink that's got a little lavender in it. And I think it really looks nice with these bright colors. I think this is so cute. It's almost like Scandinavian inspired with the floral motifs. And it's been a lot of fun to stitch. This also has been a fun project to upload into Markup R-XP. I put this in and I found out that I am a little over a quarter of the way done. I'm at like just shy of 30%, which is fun. And it's just, you know, it's fun to check like boxes off when you have things to do. And so I'm really glad that I uploaded that into Markup. I'm going to just check to see. Yeah. The other Christmas project that I worked on was another design by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and this is called Season's Greetings from the Fox Family. And this is what I've got so far. So this is a series of 3 cards that are the same design, but there's 3 different colorways. And, you know, when I looked at the pattern, they actually suggested that you take the fabric and you fold it into quarters and you do a pattern on each side. But I didn't read that, and I started them and I just divided the fabric mentally into thirds. And so there's a lot of space. I wasted a little fabric, but that's okay because there's only 3 designs. I worked on this wintry design and I put this in Markup R-XP, and I am 80% done with this section. This section right here in the middle I had already had done. there's a third section there. And so I created a separate markup file for that. And so when I get back to this project, I will finish that one section and then I'll use markup to, you know, chart the rest of the section. The work that I did, I got all of that done in like a 3-day stint. And so I betcha if I was really dedicated to this project, I could get it done in less than a week, which would be fine because I have a finishing kit that, you know, I just have been hanging on to that was sitting on top of my quilting thing, and I found it when I was organizing. So this project right here was a class that was actually part of the Jingle Ball for last year. Oh, by the way, did you guys go to the Lindy Stitch's Midsummer Stitch? I wanted to go, but I did not because I have been working at the home and studio where I guide tours, and I had worked like 4 consecutive Saturdays in a row, and I thought that if I took like another Saturday off, my husband would like blow a vein in his forehead. I mean, he's wonderful. I'm kind of teasing, but I wanted to be respectful of his time and then have us both like have a day off. And so I did not participate, but I want to plan on doing that next year. I've done both of the Jingle Balls, and they are a lot of fun. And this Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery class was super fun. I'll show you what's in the kit. I've taken some of the pieces out, but they included pre-cut mat boards for each of these designs that should fit because the fabric was also a kit. And then there was Lady Dot Creates trim. And then Ashley designed a finishing fabric that is so cute. It's like little postage stamps because they're supposed to be postcards, but they pulled all of the colors from all 3 designs. And so I think that's so cool that they did that. I just think this is going to be a lot of fun to finish, but I like to finish things in sets. And so like, just like with the berries, I won't make any of them into berries until I've finished stitching all 3. That's the same with this season's greetings. Once I have them, I will just have a big finishing frenzy and I'll finish them all at once. And they'll be super cute. I'm like thinking that I'm gonna make them as kind of oversized ornaments on my tree, and that'll be fun because it's nice to have a tree that has like a variety of sizes of ornaments, and yeah, it's gonna be cute. So that's another Christmas project that I got to work on this time. Here is the last Christmas project, and this is the project that I did not put a lot of stitches into, but I wanted to show it to you because I think it's cute. This is Christmas at Gingerbread Lane by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This is an older pattern. There is a hanging thread that I will move. So in my little cross stitch stint, I ended up finishing this little gumdrop house that you see on the side, including the little ho 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 and the Santa that's diving into the chimney on the top. And then I started adding some of the foreground people. There's a snowman that is mostly done. And then I have a lady holding a hot cocoa with a cute little hat that I need to finish her hat. This was a lot of fun. This is one of my first Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery kits that I ever purchased. I think this pattern is probably from 2013, 2014. And I just really like the minty green colors. You know, these are Christmas colors. A lot of these are actually fancy flosses. I was surprised because I hadn't worked on this a long time, but there are like 6 Weeks Dye Works colors in this pattern, and they're just really pretty. And so I'm glad that I got a little bit of more stitching in on that. So that was all of my Whitmas and July stitching. I didn't finish anything other than that wee Santa that I showed you in my previous video, but I got a lot of stitches in on a lot of different pieces, and then I put some of those pieces on markup, and I think that that's fun. I think I'll put this gingerbread one in markup too, because I don't think I'm going to get back to it right away, but it's nice to have it there as like a little reminder of, hey, look at me. So I did a lot of that Christmas stitching, and then I told you I also did the Summerween stitching, and I have something exciting to show you because I did finish that big project. And here it is. Gotta hold it the right way up. Is this cute? This is the Halloween wreath by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I finished it into a pillow form that fits I believe an 18-inch, but it might be a 20-inch pillow. I used some Ruby Star Society fabric that is like Halloween themed, but then for the outside trim, I had some really special fabric, and that is this right here. This is Spoonflower fabric from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery that matches this design perfectly. Look, it's got these little bats and these candies and the frog. just like the little bat and the frog and all the candies in the wreath. I am just so happy I got this done. This was so much stitching. Before I started in July, I had just this house and then this bottom third of the wreath end. And then I ended up stitching, I started with this witch and I stitched all the way around just in this direction. And it took me a lot of hours of stitching, but I was just so motivated because once you get the, you know, like the background, like the wreath foliage in, then you know where your motifs go and you can just jump around and just stitch like lightning. I actually ended up with a little like callus on my finger, like because I was like, just, I couldn't put it down. This was like so much fun. It was so fun that like the day after I finished it, I was just like lost. I was like, what do I do now? So I ended up just making this into a pillow on Monday. I filmed that and I might add that footage to the end of this video, but it's like an hour-long thing. And so I'm still deciding if I want to make that a separate video just as like a sew with me kind of vloggy thing. I have to actually watch it. I haven't even watched back. It was really easy to come up with the pillow dimensions because I had made the Halloween or the Christmas wreath a couple years ago. See, I actually dated it. I stitched this one in 2021 and then my Halloween wreath, I put the date on it too. There's 2024. Isn't that fun? So when I made this Halloween wreath into a pillow, I had the measurements from this previous wreath. And so I was able to figure out what I needed, you know, make sure it fit the same. That way, these two patterns can share the same pillow form and I don't have to worry about storing two giant pillows outside of the season. When I do store these, I store them in my seasonal decoration area in my basement. I have one of those Ziploc extra large like vacuum bags that I could put like decorative cushions in and then just swap them out. And that keeps them from getting like damp and, you know, basement gross. So anyway, this was a big project off my list. I'm really ecstatic that I got it done. And I had a lot of fun doing it. This pattern coincidentally is on sale from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery like until Saturday. So I hope that you see this like this weekend and then you go grab it because it's so cute. So that was my cross stitch. That was a lot of projects. How many projects was that? I'm gonna count them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 projects. That's a lot. I also have something new because I cannot get enough of stitch alongs and because July is wrapping up and because the Olympics are starting on Friday. I have been talking to another Flosstuber. Her name is Red, and her Flosstube channel is just brand new. It's Red-Headed Stitcher. I'm going to link it in my description below. But she reached out and she said, do you want to stitch something with me for the Olympics? And I thought that would be really fun. I love starting stitch-alongs with other people. And so she showed me this pattern, and I ended up purchasing it, and I have it kitted up, and I'm ready to go for opening ceremony. So the pattern we chose is by Erin Elizabeth Designs. It is called French Tier because the Summer Olympics are being held in Paris. This is the pattern photograph. This pattern uses DMC threads. I have most of them. I actually want to go to the craft store and get a couple just because I am low and I don't want to run out of floss in the middle of the project. But this is the fabric that I thought I would stitch it on. So this is a grab bag fabric by Color and Cotton that is a 40 count, and it's looking grayer than it is in real life. It is kind of like a sky blue here, maybe shadow. And then these are the flosses that I have handy. So I think this is going to be really pretty. This is not the correct red. I need to get the right red, but I'm using the same red in that Season's Greetings Christmas thing, and I didn't want to pull it out. I like to keep all of the threads in with the patterns that I'm actively working on. And so I'm excited to start that. If you would like to start it with us, we did devise a hashtag. The hashtag is French Tier Olympics 24. I'm going to put it down here once I confirm with Red that I got it right. I don't remember if it's 24 or 2024. The pattern is available from Erin Elizabeth Designs through her regular design page. I'll link the website below. It's a PDF pattern, and so it should be an instant download for you. And it's not a very large pattern. Let me see the stats on it. So if you finish it on 14 count, it would be about 4.5 inches by 7 inches. It's a 62 stitches by 95 stitches. So I'm gonna make mine really tiny because I wanna make like a cute little pillow, like to put in a bowl. Maybe with some macarons, like felt macarons. Oh, I should see if they make a felt macaron pattern because that would be a fun project. I haven't talked about it much in this channel yet, but I also really like playing around with felt. I have a couple felt like Christmas ornament projects that I have rolling around, and I've made some other seasonal decorations, and I have like a felt die cutting machine that my friend Allie Z is Crafty gave me. And so that's something that we'll maybe take a deep dive in sometime soon. So the last thing that I worked on is, I have just been doing a lot of post-project organizing with my quilting. And one thing I like to do when I finish a project is I like to put away all of the scraps. And, I do that in a couple of ways. I pre-cut a lot of my scraps into like easy to use sizes. I do a lot of squares. And so I'll cut fabric scraps into like 1.5 inch, 2.5 inch, 3.5 inch, and 5-inch squares. Those pieces, if you use a 1/4 inch inseam when you're sewing, or seam allowance when you're sewing, work really well together because you can sew 2 1.5 squares and make kind of like a 2-inch square. And then you can put that with a 2.5 inch square because of just the way the seam allowances work. And so I tend to do that every time I finish a project. I cut the biggest pieces I can get first, and then down to like, once I have a scrap that is smaller than 1.5 inches square, then I like throw it away. I really wish that there was like a textile recycling area near me, but I feel like trying to keep as many scraps as I can is really like kind of getting the last little bit of enjoyment out of the materials. And so I'm happy to do that. However, I did kind of want to play around with some of these scraps that I've accumulated, and I had some scraps that I hadn't cut down because they were interesting, and I made some cool things. Let me show you the first thing I made. So this is a pouch. This is by Noodlehead Designs, and the name of the pattern is the Petal Pouch, and it's got kind of a bulky thing going on because I've been using this pouch in my purse to store my emergency medications. I'm allergic to bees, and so I have an EpiPen that I have to keep in my purse. And instead of just having it bop around, I thought I'd put it in this pouch. But here it is. So I made this pouch out of a leftover quilted panel that was just stripes. And the quilted panel was from a Christmas tree skirt I made for our house a couple years ago. And so I cut it and I used that, pretty much that whole quilt panel left, just I have a little bit left. The inside of the pouch is the backing fabric from the rainbow quilt that I just finished. So this was a fun little like couple-hour project. I'm really happy. I learned some cool zipper construction techniques on this, and it's been useful. So I keep my EpiPen in it, and then also my son has a epilepsy medicine that's like an emergency medication. It's a nasal spray, and that way I just am out of the keep a Ziploc bag in my purse game, which is nice. I could also use that as a knitting bag if I want. In fact, I might make another one because it was a lot of fun and it wasn't very difficult. I think if I made another one, I would put some sort of stabilizer in, like maybe a medium weight interfacing. I just use lightweight interfacing, or some fusible fleece, just to give it a little more structure. The other thing that I made was also out of quilt scraps, and I'm gonna put a little insert here of a video, but I have a couple cross stitch projects I finished a couple years ago. They were designs by Satsuma Street. I showed them to you in my house tour a couple weeks ago. But in order to make the quilted panels that border the edges of those designs, I ended up sewing some stripe quilt panels and then cutting them into quarters, kind of like you cut a sandwich, like on the diagonal, to make those triangles that I could put on each side of the diamond-shaped cross-stitch design. So I had all of these leftover triangles, and some of them I had used like on the back side of those little mini quilts that I finished that are hanging up over there. But I had enough that left that I thought I should try to make a project bag. And I did, and it's weird. It's like the colors are weird because it's very scrappy, and the dimensions are a little different than my other project bags, but I like it. And I am calling it my weird Barbie bag because it's just kind of a hodgepodge. And here it is. So I followed the project bag tutorial by Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. I've used that for several project bags, and every time I make a project bag, I go back to that same thing and I watch it over again because I get so confused about what order to stitch the seams. So the inside of this bag also, it has my berry basket in it, but it also has that backing fabric that was left over from that quilt I finished. And then I have a mix. I've got some Alice in Wonderland themed diagonals here. And then I've got some of my Wizard of Oz stuff. This patch right here is from my quilt. It was the bias binding. And then this is also a piece that I had left over from my quilt. Here's, this side is kind of more Wizard of Oz-y, but yeah. So basically I made 2 quilt panels and then I sewed them together into this bag, and I love it. And I love that I don't have these random triangle scraps in my doom drawer in my quilting section. So in fact, I have very few scraps even left to deal with. I've got a little bit more of that Christmas tree skirt panel. I've got like a red and pink one that I maybe want to make like a little zippy pouch with. And then I've got just some scraps left over from this pillow that I just made, but not a lot. In fact, if you were to make this project, I'm just going to tell you off the top of my head. So this spoonflower print came in 1/4 yard cuts. You need 2 of them because this envelope back requires most of the fabric. In fact, I used every bit of fabric left, you know, to make that and just to have this like skinny border on the front. And then I used about a third, like I just did like strips off of the side, so like 10 inches off of one side of a fat quarter for the other color. So I like to just kind of deal with scraps as they get generated so that I am not overwhelmed by just like pieces of things that are not telling me what they want to be. So anyway, I think I'm going to cut the video now because this is like 40 minutes long and my phone is going to be like, you're never going to go into the cloud because you're so long. So I'm going to do that, and then let's talk a little bit about quilting over there. So quilts take a lot of space. Hey, Audrey. And so I wanted to show you what I was working on. So I am in the process of working on putting together this quilt top. Now this is the Atomic Starburst quilt, and it is a series of diamonds. And each of these diamonds has sashing around it, and then you put it together kind of in diagonal strips, which is why I've got kind of this massive triangle. There are 14 stripes to make it a square. I have 8 of them done, so I'm a little bit, no, I'm sorry, I have 6 of them done. And then I've got the other stripes ready to put together. So here's stripe 7, stripe 8. Now some of these blocks I haven't even put the sashing together. So this is just a blank like edge block. And so the first seam I have to sew is, you know, putting this piece on and then putting this piece on. And because these pieces are angled, it is more difficult because you cannot just match the corners like you can with 90-degree things, because then when you put the sewing in, then the piece is like off kilter. It's like bleh, you know, or bleh, like that. And so what you have to do is when you piece it, you have to overlap it like about a 1/4 inch. So a lot of measuring is happening. God, I hate that my phone keeps doing that. It keeps focusing on my hand instead of the thing I'm trying to show you. So anyway, I have all of the pieces in piles on my ironing board, and then I have my map. So this was the diagram that came with the pattern, and then as I complete a row, I've got like the order of the blocks so I won't get lost. And all of these pieces get sewed and then pressed and then sewed again. And I bet you this project would take me, probably take me about an hour to do all these strips. But it's an excellent, like, watching my kid while they're outside project. It's an okay watching my kid while he's watching TV project. Obviously, I don't leave this quilt top, like, in his play space. And actually, I get a little nervous about the iron because it's so hot. So, you know, that's your mileage will vary. Quilting is challenging. Quilting without dedicated space is like next level challenging. But when I do have quilt space sometime in the future, that'll just make this like so much more satisfying for me, right? It'll be like easy mode. These stars are stitched with foundation paper piecing. So the pattern was something I printed out, and then you just sew each block in order and press in between each one. There were 20 of those, and then there's colored diamonds, and then there's solid diamonds. And I like it. It's got kind of a retro look. The backing fabric is by Ruby Star Society, and it's raining out, so you can't really see very well, but it is speckled. Here, that's a good block to see. It's speckled with some metallic speckles, and I like it because it reminds me of like 50s diner, like Formica. And then the rest of these designs are all from the same product line. This is a collection called Florida Volume 2 by Sarah Watts of Ruby Star Society. And I fussy cut a couple pieces. Like, look at this one that has a cool alligator on it. There's a coral reef. This is a pattern that I really, really, really like. They made that pattern in like a rayon fabric too, which I think would be really, really, really pretty to make like a skirt. I have not made myself like apparel before, but I think if I started apparel, I would probably start with like a basic like mid-length like midi skirt, because that's kind of like my uniform, my Sally uniform. I find skirts to be really comfortable, and I wear them almost every day. So this is how my work table is set up right now. And I've gone through and I've done a little bit of organizing. So I've got my sewing machine out, and then I have my main project, which is the Atomic Starburst quilt going on here. And then this is my next project, which is going to be a stamp quilt. I went through my quilting cabinet and I did some organizing. I found all of these, which are different scraps. Some of these are brand new. Like this is from that Halloween pillow I just finished. And I found this too. This is a kit I made out of a bunch of like 1-inch strips that can be used to make like a little banner, kind of like what I have in my living room. I'll put a little insert in right here. But let's take a look at the rest of this cabinet. So I've mentioned in the past, I've got a pretty small space for storing fabric, and most of my fabric is fat quarter cuts. So I have them organized in these cardboard boxes, which can be pulled out, you know, just to get a sense of the depth. And then I'll tuck in stuff like that's a zipper for a project bag. So what I'm really proud about was I had this drawer of doom that I organized. So these are all interfacing scraps that I folded neatly. I'm sorry, these are interfacing. This is quilt batting that's left over. This is my mini iron kit. And then I've got all my glue and stuff up here. So I'm ready to finish some cross stitch pieces. I have on the side tucked in my rulers. There's this little gap because the pencil sharpener is built in here. So all my quilting rulers, my sewing machine, table attachment, and then that's a light box are down there. Hi, it's me coming back the following day because I thought I filmed a little clip of my organization situation for cross stitch stuff when I was doing my quilting organization, but I can't find it. And so I think I did one of those like hit the record button, but didn't actually hit it moment. So here we go. Let me try to remember what I wanted to tell you about yesterday. If you've watched my organization video from a couple months ago, you'll know that this console, which is right next to the table where I do a lot of my art projects and my quilting, used to be all for my children's craft stuff. So crayons and markers and things like that. And as they've grown and they've exited their little kid years and now they're into middle and high school years, they don't need a whole console anymore and they're not utilizing it. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up splitting it in half. So this half right here is my cross stitch stuff. And then this half is still kid art project stuff that, you know, they can get into if they're feeling particularly nostalgic. However, I've worked with this for about 2 months now, and I have made some changes that I wanted to show you. And that's the thing about organization systems. As you work with them, you'll find that sometimes the ideal doesn't match the reality, and it's okay to reconfigure things. So the first thing I want to talk about is this Bisley drawer unit. Now, I purchased this to store my fancy flosses, and that's what is in most of these drawers. Fancy flosses, easy to pull out. This drawer on top is for a lot of my notions, like my scissors and my needles and things like that. And then this drawer right here I was using for my metallic flosses, which are still here in the back. I don't use a lot of metallics. But then in the front, I was keeping my hoops that were currently projectless, but it was really hard to open and close the drawer. And also, I'm starting to use floss rings more often, and so I have a couple extra floss rings that are just awaiting their next projects, and these are too bulky to fit in this divided drawer situation. And so I ended up moving my hoops into a different area of the room, and now that is for floss rings. The biggest change, however, has come down here, and what has happened is I've essentially invaded some of my kids' space. So these drawers over on this side used to hold notebooks and coloring books for the kids, and then the other drawer held perler bead creations. So perler beads are those beads that you can fuse with an iron. You know, you put them on a little pin board and then make little shapes. My daughter had some very strong feelings about recycling all those perler beads, or, you know, getting rid of them. And so I kept them in the drawer, but then I realized I don't need to actually have a drawer for them because they aren't getting accessed regularly. They're just being kept for nostalgia, right? And so I ended up moving them into a different box and putting that box where I keep like the kids' school art projects. Like I have like little file boxes for their age. And this is something that seems like a no-brainer fit. So when I looked through the notebooks that were in the other drawer, I found out that a lot of them were basically unused, or maybe only 1 or 2 pages had been used. And I think that they were just things that probably were purchased during back to school seasons and then accumulating over the years. Especially since the kids don't use notebooks as much as they did like in elementary school, because they do a lot of computer-based stuff, because that's just because I guess I'm old now. So what I ended up doing was I ended up pulling the used pages out. A lot of them were just like scratch paper, not worth saving. And I put the notebooks in a stack where I am going to just store school supplies as I start collecting for back to school. And then anything that's left over, unless it's like a really fantastic, like special notebook cover or something, I'm going to probably donate once back to school season starts. So that freed up these 2 drawers. And so let me show you what I did. So this first drawer right here is where I moved my felt die cutting machine. Previously it was in this drawer over here. And then this is a lot of the felt dyeing machine or die cut machine accessories. And then also I purchased myself this latch hook kit because I'm into vintage stuff. And so that just seemed like a good place to put it. So this side right here is where I was storing projects that I had kitted up but had not yet started. But this drawer is at capacity, especially since I've returned from StitchCon and, you know, just I've been shopping. And so what I've decided I want to do is I want to take all of these kits out and I want to sort them. Look, I can't even close this drawer very efficiently. I'm going to take this out because I don't want it to get ruined. So I'm going to sort these kits out. I think that what I can do is I can do a drawer that is for maybe longer term projects, like projects that I think would take me many months to finish. And then a drawer for little projects, and then maybe have them kind of roughly sorted by season, because I've got a lot of like things that I could start and I could probably finish within the same month. I tend to think of my crafting in like 1 month increments. I don't know. That's just my way I do things. So I am going to go through and sort these kits out. And I was thinking about maybe doing a little kit parade. I've seen a lot of kit parades and whip parades over the summer. I didn't do a whip parade because I just did one to start my channel like in May, and it hasn't really changed very much. But you guys haven't seen all my cool kits, and a lot of these projects are probably things I've forgotten about that I want to maybe like move up the queue a bit. And so I think a kit parade would be fun. Let me know if you would be interested in that. So And then just a brief overview of what all this other stuff is. This is my master DMC section. One of those boxes is pulled out because I'm using it for my 324 project. And then this bin is where I keep a lot of my finishing trims by Lady Creates. I also throw like little pieces of fabric, you know, for smalls in here. And then this little section, I put all of the little bits and bobs from StitchCon that I wanted to keep. A lot of these are business cards or, you know, like little floss drop gifts that people gave out at StitchCon. And I think eventually I want to probably sort them out, but I think it's just really nice to have these little notes, little positive notes in there. This is where I keep my patterns. These are patterns I have not yet stitched that I purchased, and they're organized alphabetically by the author in little file folders. These are patterns I have stitched, but I do not want to like discard or, you know, rehome the pattern, you know, through a destash. And so that's in a binder there. And then these are blank comic book boards that I use for wrapping new pieces of fabric to put in my fabric storage in Craft Dungeon. Oh, and I guess if you're curious about this, this is my DMC color card, and I use this a lot of times, especially if I'm doing substitutions of fancy floss in projects that have DMC codes. So anyway, that is just a quick overview of my cross stitch organization as it is in July 2024. Still very much a work in progress, but I am utilizing it, and I feel like I know where things are, you know, like they belong, and I don't have like a chaos pile, and so I'm pretty pleased with it. I also have over by my stitching spot by the TV a couple baskets that I'll show you next. This is my couch where I like to stitch and watch TV. And the other change I've made to my organization is I've added this second wire basket here to hold unused project bags and hoops. So this basket right here is all of my works in progress. And then this is empty bags that I can pull from and all of my hoops. So that's a lot easier. I used to just have the bags stacked, but I felt like they were getting dusty because the shelf is pretty close to the floor here. And I like having them in a little basket that's easier to pull in and out now. There's a table here that kind of sits in the way, but that's cool because it keeps Nathan from dumping all my stuff out on the floor. So hooray. Before I leave today, I did want to talk a little bit about all of the Flosstube I watched, because I did all this crafting and I would bring my iPad and do YouTube sitting here, or at nighttime watch YouTube there, and boy, it kept me company. I really enjoyed it. Here is a list of some of the people I watched, and this isn't everybody, but I just wanted to share and give a shout out to them because I enjoyed their videos. Erica from Floss Fiber Canada, she had actually tagged me, and so I got a chance to see her video, and thank you for the nice compliment. I'm glad that you liked my video. I liked your video too, and I wanted to learn more about your projects. She did a lot with like Roxy Floss, and that is like on my bucket list of something that I want to try. I watched Frizzy Lizzy Stitches, and that was fun to see. One project she's doing that I'm really admiring is the Lola Crow stitch along. That's the Deadly Aquarium. I've never done a Lola Crow pattern, and that would be the one I would want to do. It's so pretty. I know that there's like, I think there's like a greenhouse themed one or a terrarium. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. She also does this really cute little pattern that's like a cat staring out a window when there's like a disaster that's outside. It's like a catastrophe, and I think that's fun. It's like a sea monster is, you know, devouring a ship, and this cat's just staring. I think that that would be a fun one to stitch too. So I enjoyed watching her video and seeing her progress. I watched Tasha from Britches Get Stitches. I met her at StitchCon, and she is the sweetest person, and it was fun to see the things that she had done. I wish that we lived closer. She lives in Ohio, I think pretty close to Cincinnati where StitchCon was, but I live like 6 hours north. But I really enjoyed the video. I caught up with Justine that I had mentioned in my last video. She made some really cool floss drops. She used a 3D printer, and that's something I would like to learn more about. I don't know anything about, you know, that process, but it looks complicated. They turned out really cool. She also sewed some project bags that I think are really pretty. And then Red, you know, who is doing the stitch along with me, you know, remember that's that hashtag for French tier. That was a lot of fun to watch. I watched Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. She's doing weekly videos now, and that's fun. What did she do yesterday? Oh, I watched her video. They have like a long arm quilting studio. So if you're not aware, long arm quilting, these machines are big. They're like 12 feet wide, and you attach your fabric, and then you can like use a computerized program to do a stitch pattern on your fabric. I know of long arm quilting as a service, like you drop your quilt off and then someone like quilts you, you know, it for you. But she was in a studio where she booked an appointment time, and then she got to use her own machine and just kind of manage that project on her own. And I was jealous. That looks like a lot of fun, but also like there's a learning curve there. So I thought that was really cool that she took us along to see that, because I've never seen that before. And I want to get a project long arm quilted. It looks cool. What else? I'm glad I made a list. Oh, I watched Rebecca from Beck Stitches Everything. She's really, really prolific. I can't believe she's gotten so much stitching done. And she is such a pleasure to talk to. We've been chitty-chatty, you know, about different projects, and I like her a lot. And then I've watched a couple non-cross-stitch Flosstube videos that I've really enjoyed. Some of them are like things that I, you know, just kind of like let the algorithm choose for me. I watched a lot of organizing videos, including, oh man, and someone on Instagram actually sent me a picture of her sewing room that she had just organized. And I was like, I appreciate you. You know what I like. So I've been watching organizing videos. Most organizing videos about craft rooms are from crafters that are like really, really into like scrapbooking. And so that's always fun for me to see. I saw someone named Bethadilly who had just set up a new like craft room in her basement earlier this year, and that was fun. She also did a video that was like an organize with me, and it was just like making like ink swatches for some new inks that she had just purchased, and I thought that was fun. It was like a series of like lots of little like projects, and that's something I really like to do. I think another hobby of mine could be prepping for the next project as a hobby. You know, I like that process of finishing something like that Halloween wreath and, you know, putting all the floss away and putting my project bag away where it belongs and putting the needle minder back on my needle minder wall. And, you know, so I enjoy that, watching that content while I'm stitching. I've also been watching a lot of crochet blogs because there are a lot of people that make crochet like amigurumi, like little stuffed animals, and then they sell them at like craft events, and it's really an interesting thing. There are a lot of like crochet tube, you know, vloggers, and I like watching that. For one thing, it kind of scratches my like disaster cleaning itch because these projects take like these enormous bulky like blanket yarn skeins, and so if they have like more than like 8 skeins of yarn, they have like this huge mess, and so it's kind of fun to watch them like clean it and to use up the yarn. I watched a video by someone named Sarah from Crochet Vision, and she kept track of how many skeins of yarn she used in a month, and she used like 100 of them. Now some of them were like knitting machine, but she used like at least 70 of them on just like crocheting stuff, and that's crazy. I used maybe like 2 skeins of yarn this year, and I've got a lot of backstock yarn, and so I just really enjoy that kind of content, and I wondered if you enjoyed it too. What are you watching? Do you like watching people like clean their kitchens? I'm not ashamed to admit I do enjoy it. It motivates me. It makes me get up and go clean my kitchen, you know, seeing other people do it. What is that called? I think that's called like body doubling, like when you're encouraged to do something when you see someone else doing something. And that's kind of what I hope to do with this last section of my video. I am going to go ahead and put my completion of the Halloween wreath pillow, and I'm going to edit it down severely because there's a lot of dead air where I was just like cutting and muttering to myself. Hey, it's me again. I am sitting here, I am editing my video for tomorrow, uploading, and I realize I promised you a Halloween wreath video kind of vloggy thing, but I couldn't get it to load from iMovie. I cut it down significantly using iMovie because it's just comfortable, and then there's a corrupted file or something. It will not load into the cloud, and my current video is about an hour long, and I think that maybe I need to just save it for another time. So I'm just gonna paste this in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. My crafts when I'm working at the craft table. So things to do. I mean, this is a fun channel to do. It's a process. You start, you know, small, and then you add stuff, and then you learn like an editing trick, and then you add like an intro and a little outro, and next thing you know, you're full on Flosstuber. And if you are waiting to make that jump, I say go for it, because I want to watch what you're doing too. So, hey, thanks for spending time with me. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you subscribe to me, then you can see more of my videos as they release. I've been releasing every other week so far. I do think I probably will slow down at some point, maybe to be more monthly, just because I don't think I can keep this pace up. I think that this is unusual for me to have all of these crafts going on at once. But also, having, you know, content to create is very motivating. So we'll see how it goes. You know, I really appreciate that you took the time to spend with me, and I hope you have a lot of happy stitching days ahead. Take care, friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.